Hi, welcome to this information video on the COSCA Counselling Certificate course here at Strathclyde University in the Centre for Lifelong Learning. My name is Pam Dawson and I am the course leader for the programme. And I love this programme. It is transformational and life-changing. Well, at least it was for me. I did this certificate many years ago when I wanted to retrain and do something totally different with my life. I went on from doing the certificate here to doing my diploma here, and now I manage and oversee the actual whole course. So I've come kind of full circle, and the programme means a lot to me on a personal level. And I really hope by watching this video, you think, actually, yeah, I want to do this as well. So in order to help you just think about things a wee bit, I want to give you some information about the course. So the way the course is delivered, we have two ways. We do either a regular delivery, which is September to June, and you do one unit every time you're in class, or we do a condensed version, which is January to June, and you do 2 units per time you're in class. And the reason that's important is that COSCA, who are the governing body for counselling and psychotherapy in Scotland, this is their course, okay, it's their programme. We are an accredited training provider for them. And they have a minimum 85% attendance rate for this course. That's because this course is so experiential, okay? And if you miss a class, we can't replicate the learning that you would get. You have to do an additional assignment if you miss a class, but the whole experience we can't replicate. So although COSCA asks for 85% attendance at the university, we strive for 100% so that you get everything you can out of this course. With regards to the attendance, if you miss a unit, so because of that 85%, basically what that equates to is if you do a regular programme September to June, and you're in class for 2.5 hours, 1 unit per time, you're allowed to miss 2 units. Okay, if you're doing the condensed version, January to June, you do 2 units every time you're in class, so you're only allowed to miss 1 session. You miss any other sessions within that module, and I'm afraid you're off the course because of that attendance requirement from COSCA. Okay, so bear that in mind when you're looking at timetables and whether you want to do the condensed version or the regular version. The regular version, September to June, gives a little bit more flexibility, but just bear that in mind, okay? Any units that you do miss, you will be asked to do an additional assignment. That way we can ensure from a quality learning perspective that all the group are learning and progressing at the same pace, okay? So just keep those kind of things in mind. So what's a typical day going to look like? So the course is structured in the fact that you have 4 modules for the whole course. And within those 4 modules, there were 12 units, okay? Typically, you come into class, whether that's online or on campus, and you will have a check-in. The check-ins are really important. It's how we all as a group just make sure we all know where everybody's head's at. So especially if you're working online and you're at home, you know, have you got an Amazon delivery? Is the dog going to bark? You know, just let people know what's going on for you. If you've had any difficult times over the last week before we've met, things like that, just so that we can support one another. So you have your check-in. We then have a tutor input, whether that is not a very formal lecture, but a teaching input nonetheless. Then there are maybe individual or group activities, there will be skills practices, and then we do a checkout. Again, the checkout is really important to make sure that if anything's gone on in the class, it's resolved within the class and nothing stays over, okay? Now, I want to give you a word of advice in terms of the skills practice, okay? When you apply for this course, there is a question that asks you about your previous trauma history. This is really important. Now, there's only myself and my colleague Cara, who is also a lead tutor and also a qualified counsellor. We're the only 2 that look at the applications, okay? And the reason we ask the trauma question is in the skills practice, we ask for real play and not role play. So we're going to be asking you to talk about your experiences, whether that's around grief and loss, whether that's around belonging, whether it's about difference and discrimination, things like that. That's the kind of stuff that we talk about on this course. So because of that, we need to make sure that you are emotionally okay to do this program, okay? And you have the support mechanisms to also look after yourself. So we don't need you to go into huge depth on that question, but if there is anything you think actually maybe they need to know that, let us know so that we can also make sure that support's put in place for you, okay? The other thing to think about as well on the skills practice sessions is you're in a training course on this program. This is not group therapy, okay? This is not the course to come on to go, I can sort my stuff out, okay? That's not what this is about. This is a training course. Now, for some people on the course, they won't want to become a counsellor. And this is a brilliant standalone course for people who work in education, social work, pastoral care, things like that. Others want to come on to be a counsellor and go to do further training. But when we're talking about skills practices, if you've dealt with something that's been quite difficult, other people might not have heard things like that to start off with. So you just need to be a wee bit mindful about what you're sharing and the depth to what you're sharing. Okay, so we've put in some strong guidelines that your tutor will take you through before you do your first skills practice. Okay, so just keep that in mind that although this is a training course, you're going to hear some pretty harsh, well, not harsh, pretty hard things that people have gone through. And that can be a wee bit challenging the first time you do that, okay? But as I say, we put in some safety guidelines. In terms of the actual course in relation to how we assess it, each module has a 3-part assessment. It's a written assignment, a skills practice, and a presentation. All 3 parts of this have to be passed before you can move on to the next module, okay? Where sometimes people struggle with the essay is that it's not academic, okay? So it's not anything to do with referencing. It's not, Sigmund Freud hypothesized this. We don't want that. What we want is to understand how what you're getting from this course, how you're interpreting that and applying that to your own life. So the essays are very personal, they're very reflective. And one of the things that I always suggest to people is COSCA at the back of their handbook, and that the handbook effectively is everything you need to know about the course, okay? But at the back of the handbook, there are self-evaluation forms after each unit within each module. Strongly recommend you fill them in, and it's a bit like a journal, because by the time you come to do your final essay in module 4, if you've done these self-evaluation forms, your essay's practically written itself, and it makes it a lot easier. In terms of being able to get extensions, you're only allowed extensions in module 1, 2, and 3, okay? And you need to discuss extensions with your tutor first. Once they agree, you then can go on to My Place, which is the university's virtual learning environment, and you can submit a request for that, okay? But you need to discuss everything with your tutor. They are the first port of call once you're on this course, okay? So once you're on the course and you get set, any questions, any issues, you speak to your tutor first, okay? So in terms of everything else, hopefully that's given you enough information in terms of what it's like. What I will say is that on the back of what I said before about it being transformational, this course is founded on trust and confidentiality, okay? So it's about being able to really listen to the feedback that you're going to get from your tutor and your peers. It's a learning environment, okay? So what we strive to do is really help you be open to that feedback. There's a lot of self-awareness and self-development on this course, as well as giving you the practical foundation tools to become a counsellor or to become a better or more effective active listener. So I really hope that this has given you some information. If you've got any questions, drop the team a line. Their email address is on the website, and hopefully I will get to see you soon and get to read your applications. But it's a great course, and I really hope you sign up for it. So the very best of luck, and see you soon.